Hi, we're now going to continue our discussion on consumer behavior. Last time we looked at the decision-making process and the types of decisions we may make. What we're going to talk about in this segment and the next are the influences, the other things that come into play in influencing you on how you make your decision as well as other people make theirs. In this segment, we are going to look at the two external types of influences, the situation and the social, or the people around you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Why do I do what I do? You know, this is something that I can say, I've said often, many, many times. I'll do something, I'll buy a product, I wonder why did I do it? Why did I make that decision? And most of the time it comes down to something external that influenced me to do so. So again, that's what we're going to look at now. The first category of influences we're going to look at are situational influences, things happening in the environments around us. Physically, there can be a number of influences. There may be, for example, weather issues. I don't know about you, but if it's raining, I try not to go shopping. I try to avoid it at all costs. So that's definitely going to affect it. If there's snow or ice projected, what happens? You go to a grocery store and the line's huge. People are stocking up because they don't want to go out when there's going to be bad weather. What about in the summer, though, when the weather's so nice? Does anything influence that? Well, yeah, if you're from around here, from the Indianapolis area, you know what the people in Zionsville have gone through. There's been tons and tons of road construction at a major intersection getting into Zionsville. Some businesses have lost so much in sales that they actually had to go out of business. It's hurt a lot of companies in the area, all because of road conditions and road work, construction work. So those are some of the physical things that can influence where we shop, what we're looking for, what we're willing to go buy. In addition to that, we have temporal considerations, and temporal means time elements. It may be the time of the day, it may be the time of the week, it may be the time of the year or the season influences as well. But let me give you an example of time of day. I teach day classes and I teach night classes. If I'm coming home after day classes, I don't have an evening class that semester or on that day, be coming home and invariably I get a phone call from one of my kids or my husband saying, honey, can you stop and pick up some milk? Can you stop and pick up something like this? Whatever. Well, if it's in the daytime or early evening, I go to my favorite grocery store and I pull in there and I use my little frequent card and get my discount and buy that product and get home. However, if it's after a night class, I teach until 10 at night, I'm not going to do that. The grocery store's still open, but I have to make a little segue to get there. I have to park in the parking lot. I have to walk a few extra steps and walk around the big grocery store to find it. No. If it's that late, I'm going to pull into the gas station, go buy the milk, pay more for it, but I don't care. I get home quicker. So the time of day will influence a lot of the types of decisions we make as well. We also have how the purpose will affect what we buy. Why are we buying this? What is the situation around it? Let me give you an example. I am not a drinker. I do not drink much at all. I like a little wine once in a while, so usually, say once a year, I'll go to Kroger's and I'll buy a gallon of wine for $2.50, and I'll keep it in the refrigerator, and every so often I'll stick my straw in and take a sip, boom, I'm done. Okay? I don't put much effort into it. I definitely don't spend much money because I don't drink it very often. But if I'm having guests over for dinner, I'm going to go to a wine store. I'm going to get a salesperson to help me. I'm going to describe the menu. I'm going to spend more money, put a lot more effort into it. Why? The purpose has changed. And so the example I just gave you involved other people. So not only is the situation different, but we have other people involved, which leads us into our next category of external influences, and that is the social influences. Now, culture is definitely going to have an effect, not only in what we buy, but how we buy. For example, as you look through your book, you'll see examples, but some cultures are very brand loyal, others are very much into negotiating. So we want to make sure we understand not only the culture, but social class as well. I have a little different take on social class than most places. I don't feel that it's the best method to use in targeting your market and getting to know them. You can see a list of the different social classes in your textbook, but the reason I have some problems with it is in the U.S. especially, not necessarily in other countries, but in the U.S. it's hard to put people in a specific social class. The government does it, and they do it based on income. But you have probably already decided what social class I might be in. You don't know what my income is. If you saw my paycheck, you'd probably laugh. You have no idea what my income is. But based on the way I speak, based on the job I hold, maybe on the clothes I wear or whatever, you've made some conclusions. And that's what we tend to do as people, is we tend to put people in social class based on these other things, not income. That's what the government does. Okay? So from my perspective, if you're going to target or design a strategy around a group of people, do it by those other things. Do it by their education level or their type of profession. So the term social class means different things to different people. Now, group memberships can definitely have an issue. If you belong to a group, there's certain things that are expected, certain things that are encouraged. You want to feel like you belong. You want to feel like you're a part of that community. So you tend to shop at the same places they shop and look for the same things they look for. If they really have a strong effect on the things you buy, you really listen to their opinion and value that, we call those reference groups. You don't necessarily have to be a member of a reference group. It may be a group you want to belong to. For example, my pastor, and if he's watching, love you. My pastor loves motorcycles, but he can't afford a Harley. He does everything he can to look like he belongs with the Harley groups, like he's one of those hogs, the Harley ownership groups. So that influences his buying behaviors quite a bit. However, he's not actually a member because he doesn't have that Harley. What is really important to marketers, though, is opinion leaders. Think about your group of friends that you belong to. They're a reference group for you more than likely. They influence you. But there's probably somebody in that group whose opinion you value more. I have a friend I know who's an expert on movies. She goes to see almost every movie that comes out. So if I'm going to go out to see a movie, which I don't do very often, I'm going to call her and say, hey, Bonnie, what movie should I go see? You know, what one will I enjoy the most? She's an opinion leader. I respect her decision. Hopefully you can see from a marketing standpoint, if we can target that opinion leader, we're going to be very effective in our strategy because they're going to influence others. The problem is it's very hard to identify opinion leaders, and they change in different situations. I have another friend whose opinion I value in terms of clothing and fashion. So identifying it can be very difficult. What we can do, and trust me, we can do it, is create opinion leaders. For example, we may take a celebrity and use them as a spokesperson. Michael Jordan is a spokesperson for Ballpark Franks. Here's this multi-millionaire. There's no way he eats hot dogs more than we do at our house. No way. Yet because of who he is and his image and the affection the public has for him, they look at him as an opinion leader, and if he recommends this product, it must be good. Another way we can create opinion leaders is to get referrals. For example, we were having our driveway redone one time, and we had a couple bids for it. One gentleman came in with his small business with a very low bid, and I asked him, how can your bid be so much lower than everyone else's? He said, because I've never done work in this subdivision and I'd like to break into the market. So if you will let me, I'll put a sign in your yard and I'll use your name when I go around to different people. And I'll say, look at the Donahue driveway. Talk to the Donahue. See if they liked our services. And because I want to use you as a reference, I'm going to give you a break in a price. Well, people are more likely to believe what I say than what he says in the act of selling. So he, in effect, has set me up as an opinion leader within my neighborhood. So as I said, we can create opinion leaders, and it's a very effective strategy to use. Okay, so let me try and sum up then these external influences. First of all, our situation, whether it's physical or temporal or the purpose, it can and it will influence decision making, as will our social situation. Who are we around? Who do we want to be around? Who do we listen to? Okay. And finally, how do we find out about this? How do we know what our target market situations are? How do we know what their social influences are? Well, we come back to that topic that I'm not going to drop. We do it through our research. We do it through questionnaires. We do it through interviews. And we find out what influences our target market, what things are important to them, and we'll define our strategy around that. For example, if our target market says we usually buy this product as a gift, it's something we love to give as gifts, specifically wedding gifts, then we know we need to make this package more elegant in look. We need to add some ornate work to it, maybe offer some gift wrapping services to go along with it, etc., because that is the purpose for that gift. So that's what our research can tell us, and hopefully we can satisfy that customer. Next time we'll take a look at the internal influences on our buying behavior. Till then.